Awesome. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hello, you guys, and thank you so much for joining us in the Cal. I have some very special guests today that I met a couple weeks back, and because of what is going on, I want to say just in our city, but it's not just going on in our city. The world has lost its mind. And I just want to talk to some individuals who are more, can I say, expertise?
Working on it.
They're working.
Always learning, always learning.
Always learning. I understand that. I am here with the Center for Nonviolence, and I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and tell you what it is they do here at the Center for Nonviolence.
Right, well, my name is Brandon Gutierrez. I'm a prevention and youth facilitator, so I work in youth programming, helping to bring curriculum of nonviolent leadership to elementary schools. Currently, we're in a couple of elementary schools in town. I'm also an LGBTQ plus teen facilitator, so we help bring a supportive and affirming space for those teens to come together and have that community. And I'm also in training to become I'm also in training to become an abuse intervention program facilitator, so helping those with cause harm and abuse violence.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah, and my name is Olive Rusk. I am a bilingual prevention facilitator as well. So I work with our youth support programming, our LGBTQ plus teen group, and do a little bit of the nonviolent leadership stuff as well, which is wonderful. And then I'm also an advocate with our Latinx program. So I work primarily with Spanish-speaking survivors of violence, providing interpreting and resource navigation, getting access to legal assistance, all sorts of things, specifically for survivors of domestic and other forms of violence.
Wow. What? Okay, wait, right there. And what other forms of violence?
Right.
What
So
say that?
we recognize that violence looks like and can feel like a lot of different things. So domestic violence in itself has a lot of different ways that it can show up, whether that be financial, emotional, physical, mental, all of the above. But there are also ways that family violence can occur. So child abuse or neglect, violence that happens against those with disabilities within a family, violence against those who are elderly, or any sort of way that power over another person is getting used to intentionally create harm, or sometimes unintentionally as well. But we also work with folks who have either suffered or are currently experiencing forms of immigration violence as well. So if there's been ways that they've been trafficked in the United States, or that they've been experiencing any form of maltreatment from a workplace, or harm has been done in those ways, we can also provide some assistance depending on that.
Wow, it's happening. Wow. Wow, that is so much more than what I ever thought, that you guys did here at this facility. Wow, you guys are gonna learn today. We're gonna learn today, okay? So I was on you guys' website and I saw your services are prevention, intervention, and support and advocacy. Can you just touch on each one of those a little bit and how this organization does that?
Yeah, so I can kind of start us off by talking about our prevention services. So through prevention, we really are seeking to interrupt the cycle of violence by reaching it at the beginning, at the conception of where a lot of violent norms and tactics kind of arise. And we see that it's really helpful to find youth and young leaders who are, in that stage of their life where they're learning how to be among other people, socialize, build those behavioral skills. And so within our prevention program, we really emphasize the importance of becoming a leader and making tough decisions, courageous choices for yourself as an individual. And yeah, that's really helpful in mitigating the violent norms that we see arise that can really kind of snowball and grow as they become adults.
Okay. So you do you guys do have a program in the school system, you said?
Yeah, so last school year, we were in a couple elementary schools in downtown Fort Wayne, and yeah, this year we're hoping to expand and add another.
We also, over the summer, work with Weiser Park and Macmillan Community Centers, with that same nonviolent leadership curriculum. And then we also are able to provide that support and services to the youth whose parents are attending our support groups, our in-person support groups. So we recognize that violence can be a generational pattern, that can be something gets passed down, and has for a lot of people. That's what their family story looks like. So working with the kids whose caregivers, their grandmas, their moms, whoever it might be, is attending the in-person support group. We're both facilitators for that. So we offer a space for them to be able to be with other youth who might have similar experiences. We have two different groups, both in Spanish and English, so they're all able to join together. And as bilingual facilitators, we're able to provide those services in both languages. And that also gives us the opportunity to talk about power and how it's used in ways that we can make courageous choices and grow and those kind of things with those youth as well. So all aspects of the prevention part of our work.
Awesome, awesome. And now intervention. How do you do that? How do you intervene? Do people come and knock on the door? How do you intervene?
Right, so within our intervention program, we have recently changed the verbiage that we use. We used to call it batterers intervention. Now we're more so leaning toward the language of abuse intervention program to help people who have, like I mentioned earlier, caused harm or used violence in their lives. A lot of our clients who come through that program are referred to us either by courts or probation officers that send them to us to kind of complete the steps of their process toward, finding their liberation and their justice. And so, yeah, a lot of that work is difficult in educating those individuals in not only recognizing that what they did was violent, but also understanding and learning that there are different ways of approaching situations like that in their lives.
Awesome, awesome. Now, what are some reasons you find that individuals use violence? I mean, especially you guys are in school, you talk about the youth quite a bit. What are some, for one, you said it's kind of passed down most times, but what are some of the other reasons why you find individuals say, well, I did that because, I do that because.
So a very recurring thing that we've seen in our intervention programming is the roles and positions that many men are placed in throughout their lives, like the common conception of what it is to be a man and what that kind of looks like in relationships. A lot of violence is bred from those types of understandings of like how you're supposed to move in society as a man. And so yeah, it's really a lot of that can be compacted and compounded throughout their lives, and just not knowing any other way or not wanting to escape from the rigidity of that type of understanding of yourself is really like where a lot of that work is done in order to unravel and change that perspective of yourself, just to know that, I don't have to be as dominant and controlling as I've been brought up to understand myself as.
Wow. Wow, that's good. That's good.
And I don't work in our intervention program, so I'm not nearly as familiar as Brendan is, but we do also have a women's intervention program working with women who have used violence or have caused harm, and the different programs are similar in curriculum, but recognize the ways that, violence is different and the ways that it's not only occurring, but it's been occurring in society for a long time. So we do a lot of, from what I understand of this programming, challenging social norms and really talking through other ways that we can feel control or feel forms of respect and equity in our lives without the use of violence.
Awesome, awesome. So what do you guys think? Because we have been addressing youth violence a lot within the city. There was just a forum last week or so with the mayor of Fort Wayne. What do you guys see, or I don't even know the correct question for it, as far as the youth go, what are your thoughts on this increase of youth violence?
Well, yeah, it's first and foremost for me, it's really concerning and disheartening. Just knowing that it's something that has always been occurring, and it takes a lot for people in the community to put together, and I feel like that's where we've been recently with so many acts of violence happening back to back.
Yeah.
And I had the great opportunity to speak with a few community leaders at a recent event at Reservoir Park, and a lot of the discussions that I had with them was centered around like the use of violence of these youth. Like so many don't really understand that what they're doing is as serious as it is. And something that's really stuck with me was from those conversations was that not only are these youth who are using violence, those who are causing harm, but they've also experienced harm. They've also, been in positions of being the victim, and now they've used their experiences and their trauma from their lives to kind of like victimize someone else because there was no other form for them to express their emotions or really to feel out how they've navigated or had to navigate their lives. And so it can really come to this inciting moment that's just supercharged and ultimately with violence.
Yeah, and I think there's an element of with risk taking and youth not having the capacity to see beyond that moment. And I remember as a teenager feeling like what was happening to me in that time, and there's nothing else that could ever matter. And it's when you've got trauma or mental health issues or not being heard or so many factors that youth in our own communities are experiencing in the home, in the schools, the lack of support in so many of those places. I think while there's always been violence, there's more of us like looking at it critically, more talking about it, more visibility on it. But I think that that's causing us to also create more ways that we're addressing it. There's so many organizations and spaces and groups and people and community leaders who are trying to come together and figure out what we can be doing as a whole and approaching this in all of our different communities that we have access to, that we have those relationships with, that we have those foundational trust with, to be able to really make a difference and not just like showing up and randomly being like, all right, we need to fix this problem. But I think there's a lot of intentional discussion happening that I think is putting us in a place where a lot of progress can happen. So I'm holding on to that hope.
Awesome.
Scary times.
Awesome. When you said that, I met you guys actually at Building Kings over at the Dream Center. Phenomenal program, for the youth. Did you have anyone sign up for your program at that time? Or were you just there just as support? Hey, we're here.
Yeah, it was a lot of that. We didn't necessarily have anyone that was present at that event come and sign up for services for themselves, but we spread a lot of information from our informational pamphlets and our flyers we got them in the hands of the right people that can help us find the right folks who can find us.
Yeah, with those kind of events, it's sometimes it trickles in. You'll find out in a few months that somebody who was referred to or who made the call got the pamphlet from somebody they talked to. So it's kind of, we never know exactly when we're having those conversations. Sometimes when people ask questions in a very, especially with the sport and advocacy side of things, if they're looking for support or seeking some sort of advocacy, they might ask questions. Oh, I have a friend who has this situation, or what if? And those are moments that, if they make the call later, they might let us know that they had heard something then, but we don't, that's only if they share that. So it can kind of butterfly effect.
Okay. This question here, I'm guessing would be more for you because you deal with more of the domestic, maybe relationship type. what are some of the reasons, I know, cause I've had some people like, just leave, you know, but what are some
Yeah.
reasons why you find people stay
Yeah.
in violent relationships?
So here at the Center for Nonviolence, our support and advocacy program, we work to always be functioning in the best interest of our clients. And we recognize that survivors and victims, for them, the best interest might not always be leaving. Sometimes leaving can create more instability, can create more harm, can create more chaos. And everybody has a timeline and a plan, or maybe just needs to talk about things in a way that might be just the seed or the first step. So in our survivor centered practices, we do not, we are all options. So we're not here to tell you to leave the relationship. We're here to figure out what it is that we can do to help keep you safe and protected with whatever decision you're making. So if that looks like, you know, for this time you need to stay in this relationship, we can do some safety planning. We can figure out some resources that in the meantime you can be accessing. We can figure out some, you know, if you think that in the long term you would like to leave, but you don't know what that looks like yet, we can create a plan for that. So it really is, you know, we recognize that there are a lot of reasons why a person might not want to leave. A lot of that might be financial. Financial abuse can be a huge boundary in getting out of a domestically violent relationship. And we recognize that survivors, for a long time, the statistic I believe was it took survivors 7 attempts to leave a abusive relationship before it would stick, but I think that number might have even changed recently. It's even higher. So we recognize that, you know, you can be here at any point in that, and we will still show up for you and support and advocate for you in whatever you need. So we won't force people to leave a relationship. We won't force people to call the police. We won't force people to get a protective order, anything like that. We'll just make sure that you know what your options are and ways that we can keep you and your loved ones, whether that be your kids or your pet, safe and stable in the meantime.
That is so wonderful. That is so wonderful. Have you guys ever had those moments where you felt like, just get out? just leave. I'm gonna write it on the table.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think it's something that I will talk with my other advocate coworkers about in ways that we recognize that, like, sometimes it feels like the most obvious thing to an outside party. Sometimes we just, I mean, I've had people in my life who who are so important to me, who I wanted to, not as an advocate, as a in family or a friend, yeah, wanted to like shake them and be like, come on, please, like shake them non-violently, like, please, please. But I understand that it is something that has to be in the survivor's control and in their decision making. And you can encourage, you can be there, you can provide resources, you can provide company, you can be a listening ear, but you cannot force a person to make a decision. They have to make it when they're ready to. So while yes, I think a lot of people who are viewing things from the outside feel that way, it really, you know, you have to really work on your perception and recognize that that's sometimes not the safest thing for the person, and the person knows what's best for them, and sometimes that can just be a really long process too. It can take years.
Wow. Now, you guys, how long have you been with the center?
So I've been with the center coming up on 2 years full time in September.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I started part-time in 2023, so should be about 2 years now. I started full-time in 2024, so pretty new.
Okay. And even with as new as you guys are, have you ever had those moments? I ask this question to everybody. Every interview I ask this question. Has there ever been a moment where you wanted to quit? And what did that moment look like?
I think from my perspective, there's never been a moment where I wanted to up and leave the center or my position. There have definitely been days working with an energetic group of kids that I just feel like maybe if I left the room right now, that would help me a lot. But as far as quitting, like, yeah, that would be a hard decision to make. I think a lot of the time when my mind goes to that place, it's more so in the way that maybe I need to change my approach. I need to readjust somehow to capture the room in a different way, or to, maybe lead the discussion in a way that's more conducive to progress. But yeah, quitting has been pretty far from my mind, but up and throwing my hands like in exasperation, that's a more than common occurrence.
I've never even seen that. Plugged it so calmly.
Right in my head.
This is the longest I've had a job. I'm only 27, so I feel like I had some opportunities when I first graduated college that were really cool. I was an immigration paralegal. I did a Fulbright in Mexico as an English teacher, and then I came back and was working 4 jobs in Fort Wayne. My sister had a baby while I was gone, and only 2 of them were nonprofit. The others who were service industry work that I really was having a good time with. Kind of in my head, I was wanting to take a bit of a career break. I'd been doing a lot of heavy work around immigration justice and feeling really disheartened. And at first I wanted to be in immigration law, and then I realized I didn't want to be in immigration law, and I was really just trying to figure out what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I did not know that the Center for Nonviolence existed and had a space where I could work with queer folks and also with Spanish speaking folks and with youth and with adults. And I just had no idea that I could do so many of the things that I am drawn towards in one space. So it was really a blessing that this job came around, because I think I would have otherwise had left Fort Wayne a long time ago.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm still here. And also my niece. I love my niece.
Oh, good. Now, I'll one more question and let you guys go. I also, on the website, I saw a natural shots event.
Right, yes.
Is that?
So I had a little cheat sheet for myself, just so I can give it its due respect, but yeah, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so the center, in honor of the month, we are presenting Natural Shots, which is a one-woman play directed by Lauren M. Gunderson, performed by a local actor and a former client of the center's, Kat Hickey. So it's a one-woman play that explores the hidden dangers survivors face when caught in the crosshairs of domestic abuse and gun violence. So it's set in the backdrop of an active tornado, and the story raises awareness, sparks conversation, and calls for action to end violence in our homes and communities. It's the performance is a 3-day run on October 17th through the 19th at Wonder Commerce Company in Fort Wayne. And there's special events including a donor reception, actor meet and greet, and a community talkback panel. And so tickets and more info are available at the center's website, which is www.centerfornv.org.
Plug it.
Which I want to add to that beautiful description there, that this is a really, really awesome opportunity because it's being performed by somebody who was a client at the center, who was part of our support programming, and who is a survivor herself. And she was recognizing that she's in a capacity right now where she has done so much growth and has had so much change in her life, where she's really like seeing the ways that she's giving back. I had a really awesome opportunity to speak with her and just like invited her to come back to our support groups if she ever wanted to. And it's always wonderful for those who are in groups to hear somebody who's been there before and understands what they're going through. And she got very emotional and was just very excited to realize like the contribution that she is able to do to give back to a place that did so much for her. I think that's really cool to just recognize the ways that survivors are important members of our community. There's a lot of misperceptions around people who might have survived or been victims of violence, and it's important to recognize that it can happen to anybody. It can be anybody at all. It can be somebody who's now done so much with acting and is going to be able to do this performance. It's also acting as a fundraiser for the center. So love to have people come out.
I will definitely go.
Yay.
I will definitely be attending and making sure I bring some people with me.
Thank you. We'll appreciate that.
Well, you guys, I thank you so much for your time. I know you have another event to go to, but I thank you guys so much. I've learned a lot. I hope you guys have learned a lot. And please, how can we support the center?
So I think one way that you can support the center is just by spreading the good word. I guess like if there's anyone in your life that you feel like might benefit from our services, please send them our way. I know that the topic of violence can be a really hard one to broach. But yeah, just having honest and heartfelt conversations with the ones that you love, showing them that they're, that you're willing to support them and that there are other people that are also willing to support them. I think that goes a long way.
I'd say too, following our social media where we've got some great coworkers who put a lot of work into our Facebook and Instagram to be able to constantly have resources and to share other community resources on our stories and things like that. And to promote things like our fundraisers. We've had some really wonderful community members put together fundraisers over the last few months with concerns about grants and federal funding and cuts that have happened. So we've had some really wonderful like community support show us that with that we're not going anywhere and that there will continue to be people who really want our services to continue and for many years to come. So just keeping an eye on what we're up to. We have a monthly newsletter you're welcome to get signed up to as well. And like Brendan said, if anybody in your life could use some assistance, encourage them to check us out as well.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much again. Thank you. You guys support the Center for Nonviolence here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Have a great day, you guys, and don't just have a great day, but make it a great day for somebody else.
Oh, love that.
You guys so much. That was good.